What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN's Darkness II live stream. I am your host, Damon Hatfield. We are joined today by Seth Olszewski, producer on the Darkness II. Thank you for joining us, Seth. And Anthony Gallegos, who is reviewing Darkness II for us, and he's beaten the game, so he'll be letting you know all about it. We're going to jump right into gameplay here. This is the very beginning of the game, yes?
Yeah. Just hit play right at new game.
Cool. So give us the brief rundown. Darkness II, sequel to The Darkness, which came out in, what, 2007?
Yeah, it was 07. It was kind of early in this console generation. And here we are back playing as Jackie Estacado. This is not Jackie, obviously, but we're getting a little recap of what happened in the first game here. So you don't have to have played the first game to play the second, but you should go play the first game because it's awesome. But it's 2 years after the events of the first game. At the end of the first game, Jackie kind of got promoted to be the Don of the Mafia. He has kind of enough control over the powers of the darkness, but because of all of the bad things it did, I won't give any spoilers from the first game away, he has bottled up the darkness for the past 2 years. He hasn't had to use it because as Don of the Mafia, you've got other muscle. But we show in the very first level how that opens back up. But this bit is before the first level. This is a little bit of a recap of.
I mean, and it kind of catches you up on the fact that Jackie, this is like a long-standing comic book character. You get some of the examples of the comic book art and stuff. That's something I think a lot of people don't realize is that The Darkness isn't just a game made by 2K. It's like a multiple-year-old comic book franchise that is with lore that extends well beyond what's shown in the games. Although I think the games do a pretty good job of kind of, I guess, recapping some of the highlights of the comic books themselves.
So I've been playing Darkness 2. I'm about halfway through. I didn't play the first one though. But so who is this guy? The guy that's giving the sort of backstory here.
This is Johnny Powell, or Johnny the Mystic. He's the guy who, at the end of the first game, the Darkness had done such terrible things. So I guess we're getting the recap here. The Darkness made Jackie watch his girlfriend's murder right in front of him. He held him back while that happened, and so Jackie's not going to let the Darkness run his life anymore. He needs to kind of put it on hold to bottle it up. And so he found this guy, Johnny Powell, he was sort of a grad student studying kind of modern mythology, and then found out that some of it was real. And so he was the perfect person for Jackie to go to and be like, so demon arms, how do I make them go away and take the voices out of my head? And so they did something 2 years ago that I'm not going to say too much about, to bottle it up. And this has been he's sort of the mystical junkie advisor man.
Yeah, it seems like over the course of their adventure together, it's kind of adversely affected him. He's kind of lost his mind the deeper and deeper he's gotten into the darkness.
Well, he's addicted to dark essence, and it's as dark essence, right? Like, it's not good for you. And Jackie,
it's like coffee, really.
Or heroin. And bad things that no one should do. And being so close to Jackie is sort of like the strongest force of dark essence that exists. It's genuinely very bad. It's putting the alcoholic back in the bar.
Anthony, you were a big fan of the first Darkness game, weren't you?
I did. I thought the story of the first one was really excellent. Like and the guys at sorry, what's the studio that made this? I'm spacing out.
Oh, Starbreeze made the first game.
Digital Extremes. Digital Extremes has taken what Starbreeze did and I think really done a good job with still making a story that really matters, because Starbreeze did such a great job with that first one. And I think the guys at Digital Extremes have made combat even better this time around than it was the first time.
Yeah, so. They're so good at moment-to-moment awesomeness of combat.
So now we're actually this is the game. Running in game right now. Jackie, he just looked at a picture of his girlfriend Jenny. I kind of dig the fact that it starts off like the pacing in this game is it's really great. There's in between fights and really intense parts, it goes to lulls where you get to kind of talk and take your time, and peaks and valleys. Very important in an action game. Some games just have it amped up the whole time, but I think this game does a good job. And I love this too, right? It's like most games always have the look left, look right to test your sticks, but this one couches it in the idea that you're checking
Check
out
out the rack on the brunette to the right. Yeah. It seemed like hitting the right note, starting off on a boob joke. He's 23 as Don of the Mafia.
Yeah.
This is a lot of power for somebody who's very young. But I think that also this shows you how how everybody reacts to him. Like everyone is sort of deferential to Vinny, and then everybody's reacting to and like Vinny is deferential to Jackie. So it makes you really feel like you're awesome and powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game throughout the whole entire campaign, whether it's the way that people talk about you, whether it's the way that when you sneak up behind someone when they're talking and they get like scared a little bit, like it always implies that, I mean, people know that you are like not only the Dawn, but you also have a monster inside of you.
Right, and it's not just it's not like a force of good,
Yeah.
It's just a very powerful thing.
I really like this scene.
I know this is such a shocking start to the beginning of the
really
game.
Great. I almost thought it. It's no good. Well, viewers, over the next 2 hours, we're going to be answering your questions about Darkness 2. Just tweet us at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. And that also enters you to win all kinds of cool stuff. We've got 5 copies of the game for each platform, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. We've got these cool statues, water bottles, a mask of some sort. Yes,
yeah, it's a Darkling mask.
Nice. So we'll be pairing those up with all the games. So just tweet us at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. That automatically enters you to win all this cool stuff. We've got our first question here from Josh. It says, I haven't played the first Darkness. Will I be completely lost if I start the second one first?
Nope. If you haven't played the first Darkness, you can walk right into this one. We have a little bit of a recap video that you can watch, or you can skip it. It will make perfect sense as you play through the game, kind of what's going on. That said, if you've played the first game, this will be a significantly richer experience. You'll see characters who you haven't seen since the first game. You'll be able to continue the story that Jackie had in the first one. So it makes it a much more interesting experience if you played the first one, but it's in no way required.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the intro, previously on The Darkness does a good job of recapping it as well. Mm-hmm. But there are certain moments, like interactions between Jackie and, certain characters in the game that I think are really much more touching if you have the weight of their relationship from the first game.
Yeah.
Joshua Schmidt writes in with a question, and he's going to win himself a copy of Darkness 2 on Xbox 360.
Kicking it off.
He asks, what new game mechanics and or new toys will we have to play with in Darkness 2?
I was going to say, I think in the first game, there are certain mechanics that are gone from the first game to this one that are interesting. Like Jackie had the ability to like disconnect a demon arm and run it, Creeping Dark, which was a cool mechanic, but it was much slower. And I would say that the Darkness 2 is like a game where they want you to be as aggressive and as much of like a killing machine as you can. So now it's like the 2 triggers are I guess they correspond with Jackie's hands, and then the 2 shoulder buttons correspond with each of his arms. Mm-hmm. So now it's like the main tricks you have are the fact that you can use one arm to constantly slash people apart. The other arm can be grabbing pieces of the environment, which that was really not done in the first game. Like you could grab certain things, but in this one, I mean, you can grab poles and pale guys, rip the doors off of cars. Yeah,
the car doors we just did a couple of passes through the game going, I want to pick that up, and then we'd make it so you could pick it up, and anything that was sort of tempting.
Cool.
Became an interesting thing that you could interact with in the environment.
And they've
parts, anything.
And a lot of the powers from the first game return, like there's still black hole power, there's still a Darkling, but now the Darkling is he's very much a character instead of just these impersonal little imps that you send off to die, summon again.
Well, one of our core pillars of development was in service of story. Like everything that all the decisions that we made, we made in a way we were conscious of the story, because the story of the first one was so good. We wanted to make sure that the story of the second one, met and exceeded that, and that's tough in games. But for the Darkling, that was it was good for gameplay, but it was also definitely a story-based decision, because if he's your sidekick and he's around at all times, then you can use him as part of the narrative. If you can summon any one of 4, then you don't really know what character is there, and you can't use that character as part of the narrative.
So here's the first time we get to hear the voice of the Darkness, done by Faith No More's Mike Patton.
Yep.
So cool.
He's a local San Franciscan, by the way.
Yeah.
We recorded him right in the city.
So one of the things about the Darkness is that it can regenerate Jackie. So right now, Jackie may have gotten blown up. You saw early on that his leg is totally mangled. Mm-hmm. But if he's willing to unleash the Darkness, it can save him. The Darkness does not like to let its host die.
And one of the first things I think you notice about the game is the really cool sort of graphic novel art style. Mm-hmm. Spencer writes in and asks, he says, the new art direction looks great. What was the inspiration behind it?
The first game was more of a realistic look, and early in the console cycle, that was, I mean, like video games, for ages we've been trying to make things look realistic.
Let's just take a moment to acknowledge how amazing it is the first time you release a Dark Side. I mean, it really does show how much of a monster you are. Now, granted, right now, you aren't controlling this part right here, but I can tell you that you definitely are doing things exactly like this throughout the whole
this is all
gameplay.
stuff you can do.
I mean, it.
And some.
I like the bushes.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sort of partial to the execution.
But yeah, the art style.
The art style. So what you can, the first game was sort of more realistic in games. We've been trying to make things look realistic for ages, and finally got there on this console generation. And so now kind of everybody can make it look realistic. And so we took a step back and said, well, what would we, ignoring anything like trends or trendy, what would we want to do just to tell the story we want to tell? And that's where we got to graphic noir is what we call it. You see on this garbage can behind Vinny, there's those little hash marks drawn in.
Yeah.
It's hand painted. All of this is hand painted by the artists. And it's actually more illustrators than it is artists. It's people with like a fine arts background who came in here to make it, look just like it's a graphic novel come alive. That was what our inspiration was ultimately, was that there were all these Top Cow comics all over the office, and everyone's flipping through them and going like, well, why don't we make it look like this? Because this is exactly what it should look like to tell this story.
I mean, it's a comic book game, and now it feels like a comic book game. The first game didn't really seem. I mean, if you knew it was tied into a comic, it was, but that game very much went for a more realistic sort of aspect.
But it's a comic book game that's not like a kids game. I mean, it's a comic book game like The Walking Dead is a comic book show. You know?
Yeah.
We didn't want to take it like too cartoonish. We didn't want to do like cell shading. We tried cell shading. It looked too goofy. We reeled it back in, and we ended up doing something that was a lot more, honestly, kind of hard, because it was all like you just send the artists through everything, and everything is hand painted.
So one of the things about the Demon Arms that's really cool that you saw there is that when you use it, you can use the right analog stick, and you can actually, as you hold that, and do it in a direction, which is really cool because there are attacks that kind of correspond to the directions that you're doing the slashes, which I always thought was really cool. It makes the arm really feel like a blade that you can swing, you know.
We had Demon Arm movements for ages, just because it was really important to get it right.
Come on.
Bye, Jenny.
Yeah, so we just saw a little flash of Jenny there.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie obviously is pretty screwed up over the death of the love of his life.
Yep.
Who died on his 21st birthday, nonetheless. So.
Yeah. Right in front of you.
Yeah. Joe writes in asking, what will the max number of Darklings be allowed in the game? Like, how many can you have out, is what he's asking.
Oh, well, in the single-player campaign, we have the one Darkling. And that is sort of Jackie's sidekick through the whole game.
Yeah, the first game, like we said, they were very impersonal. But you could have like 3 of them. But in this one, now you have one that he is like your buddy. He talks to you, he riffs off what's going on.
Yep.
You know?
In Vendettas, there's a character who can, his name is Jimmy Wilson, and he can summon Darklings. We call Little Jimmies. And he can summon more than one Little Jimmy, so you can get a bunch in multiplayer.
So now you see executions, that's also kind of you could execute people in the first one, but now it's very much like a mechanic. Stun them, grab them.
Yeah, can you control which execution you use?
Yeah, you unlock executions as you go. It's part of the talent progression in the talent tree, and so different executions kind of gameplay effects will have a different animation. So, but also it's different if you grab them by their neck or if you grab them by their kind of chest or if you grab them by their foot.
Yeah.
So for this set of executions, I think we've got I think it's Wishbone.
Yeah, Wishbone is my personal favorite when you grab them by their foot and pretty much split them straight down the middle. It's probably the most violent of them all.
It's hard to figure out which one is the most violent of them all, because we really do a lot of fun, violent things. You saw that Anton grabbed the parking meter and threw it like a javelin. You can most of the things you look at, you kind of want to pick up, you can.
Yeah, there will be a light indicating. And it's cool because obviously, you can play this just like a straight up normal first person shooter if you want, but you shoot someone with a gun, you get like 10 experience, whereas you get a cooler kill, more experience, which obviously matters, as we'll see later on, to unlock additional powers.
And the quad wielding stuff is so cool because you can hold a door as a shield and then still have 2 guns up.
Yep.
To mow people down with. Great.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it kind of maps to your brain. You've got the 2 triggers at the bottom and the 2 shoulder buttons are the demon arms. So how it is on the screen is how it is on your fingers. Here's your dark
here's the
lane.
dark lane that they're just asking about. A PlayStation 3 copy of The Darkness 2 is going to Nate S., who asks, is there a need to shoot out lights to maintain your arms in the sequel?
You will definitely have the capacity to shoot out a lot of lights. And if you walk into the light, your demon arms go away and your regeneration stops. And you'll actually see a really bad effect, like all the color flashes out of the world, and there's a ringing in your ears. Like, it's very bad to walk into light. That said, we're not going to. It's not like the shoot out the light minigame is super important.
You still have to do it, and I think one thing where this game differentiates itself from the first Darkness 2 is later on you fight. At this point, in the first game it was an origin story, and the darkness was like the scary new thing. But now in this game, the darkness, people know what the darkness is, and they very much so will use light against you as a weapon.
Yeah, and the guys who use light against you as a weapon, they'll have like a generator somewhere. Powering a light that's indestructible, so you can shoot the light all you want, but you've got to follow the cord to the generator, which becomes kind of part of the gameplay later on when people are, when the Brotherhood, who's one of the key enemies who you'll be fighting against in the game, like they know how to get Jackie. Shoulder-mounted light cannon, very bad for Jackie.
Yeah, or they'll throw like flashbang type grenades and that sort of thing.
Yeah, flares, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, and flashbangs are usually something that, actually here we've got relics too, which is one of the collectibles. What have we got here?
Roanoke's Bane. So that's referencing an early American colony that disappeared. No one knows what happened to it. So.
But you'll find out more about what happened to it when you take that relic back to Johnny Powell, the guy who did the recap. Because as the the guy who's knowledgeable about the world of the darkness, he knows what happened on Roanoke, and he'll tell you about it once you bring him the.
Yeah, you can actually go and visit your mansion. You can look at all these things that you've managed to collect. So here we see the upgrade trees, which it looks very complicated, but it's actually not. It's 4 trees that spiral out from the center. So that first one you got to get eat hearts, most important one.
Yeah,
the darkness feeds on the hearts of bad people,
and gives you your health back.
So there are 4 trees. One kind of revolves around guns. One revolves around that's the gun one. Another one revolves around executions. So you can use executions to get health, ammo, and eventually give yourself shields. This one's more your darkness powers. This is where you get the ability to throw people up in the air, do like a ground pound move to destroy them. Eventually you can get that black hole, which is obviously one of the cooler powers. And then, just additional powers like that. Here's some more gun channeling. My personal favorite makes you have no ammo. Your guns are just shooting darkness bullets. Swarm is one that I totally thought was underrated when I played through it first, and then eventually you'll fight some enemies where it's extremely useful. It's a pro tip.
Really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to make all of the different trees kind of balanced. All of them are useful in their own way. So it sort of supports squad wielding, right? You've got 4 weapons, you've got 4 different branches of the tree that you can go down. If you really love demon arms, go down the demon arm branch and make the demon arms more powerful.
It does allow you to kind of make it a little bit more of playing the way you want to play.
Player expression.
George is wondering if you ever considered a morality meter for Darkness 2.
As a goal-oriented thing, can I do more bad things?
I was going to say,
it would be pretty heavily skewed to the bad end, I think.
Yeah,
it would be pretty.
I mean, Jackie is a protagonist in the sense that he's the character that you play with and you like, but Jackie has never been a good person. I mean, even in the first game, he was like, Jenny didn't know exactly that. Like, she knew that Jackie wasn't necessarily involved in good things, but she didn't know that he was a hitman.
Yeah, and he tells a story about when they were younger and they were out on a date and some guy was giving them a rough time and he curb stomped him in front of her.
Yeah, and then she got all mad.
Yeah, imagine that.
And he's like, I don't know why she got mad. Yeah, he's not an angel, but that's why he's interesting. He's a flawed person, which makes him like a person. Like, you can identify with somebody who does things successfully sometimes and screws up other times.
Yeah, I mean, he grew up as an orphan. He did not have a good life.
Nice shot, Anton.
That was good.
Yeah.
I like those moments that were the slowdown moments.
Yeah, they're very, and the one thing I like about them is that they're actually few and far between. So so you still do step in the light, as you see in the Darkness Tentacles. They do not like that.
Yeah, and if you see out here, the world is rich and it's like really dark, saturated colors. and it looks like kind of a rich, darkly painted graphic novel. When you go into the light, it's kind of like before the colorist shows up. Like all of the color is leached out of the world.
So eating hearts as well as getting experience is also the way that you can gain back health. So it's nice because there are times that you'll take out a bunch of guys and then leave their hearts a little bit so that you can come back in a really intense fight and just constantly yank hearts out of them.
David Becker is asking if the kill XP is like Bulletstorm. I guess it kind of is. You're earning experience points for creative kills.
Yeah, and you will earn more the more creative you get.
Yeah,
like an execution will give you more than just killing somebody.
Although I would say that all the kills revolve around what Jackie can do with the darkness rather than in Bulletstorm it was very much more a what can you do with the environment.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Fair.
And Bulletstorm, I mean, plus I think, comparing the two obviously isn't exactly fair because I think that this game's even more story-driven than Bulletstorm was. Bulletstorm was built around that kill people your way mechanic. I feel like in this game, it's like story comes first. Everything else is like, not that the gameplay is bad, but the story is so much more what the darkness is about.
Yeah, it's absolutely about the narrative. Like, and to that end, we're like you, it's a more linear path, I think.
Yeah.
Than the first game because we wanted to be able to control what just happened to you in the story, as well as what's about to happen next.
Yeah, in the first game there was a little bit of like almost like side questy things, and you could bounce around in the subway a little bit here and there. But this one definitely is very much a straight up narrative. Because in the first game it was kind of an origin story, Jackie figuring himself out and that sort of thing too.
Well, that's part of why we that's part of why Vendettas is fun. Like when you want to do a side mission, it's your brain going like, wow, that was a lot of narrative. I just want to kill some stuff for a minute. And hopping into Vendettas absolutely gives you the capacity to just go kill some stuff for a minute if what just happened in the narrative is a little heavy and you need a minute to.
So early on, now we're learning early on that there are certain things where you still do definitely have to take out the light so that you can then smash apart the door. Like this, the door can be smashed, but first the light has to be destroyed.
Yep.
Michael Temple is wondering who exactly is this syndicate coming for Jackie and why?
I
don't know how much we can reveal.
At this point in the game that we're showing here, Jackie has no idea. He doesn't know who these people are. He doesn't know why they're wearing strange orange jumpsuits. He doesn't know where they came from, why they've chased him all the way down into the subway. He knows nothing. But it does get revealed to you as you go forth in the game, kind of more and more about the Brotherhood. Let's see, what can we reveal?
In previous coverage, the Brotherhood, if you've read IGN.com, we have talked about the Brotherhood. All we know is that it is an organization that hunts the darkness.
Yep.
And you don't know exactly why, but you have the darkness, therefore they're hunting you.
And they were founded by a saint. They started as a positive kind of order who, like 1,000 years ago, were just trying to rid the world of this dark chaos that was causing all of these problems. But the darkness corrupts, and it corrupted them. And now you get to see the corrupted version of this ancient order.
And they're the more like I said, these early on levels, you're learning how to fight, you're learning how to use the darkness. When you start fighting the Brotherhood, they are a much more complex enemy to fight. But you really get those thrown at you by the time that you actually kind of know what's going on.
Yep.
Oh yeah, then the Darkling will.
Darkling's a very classy guy.
Yeah. The corpse desecration animation conversations that we had were very interesting.
That's a very good sentence.
We pushed it pretty far.
Warren Lamb is wondering, is it possible to get all the powers in a single playthrough? And if not, is there a New Game Plus?
There is a New Game Plus. It is, we'll call it this. It is theoretically possible to get almost all of the powers in the first playthrough, but you've really got to be able to just get absolutely everything out of every kill in terms of Dark Essence. See that kill for 10 right there? Nothing wrong with that. He headshotted the guy from afar, but he only got 10 Dark Essence from that because it wasn't a very interesting kill. And here, let's see what Anton does. You're on the spot, Anton. There we go.
I think this is let's execute him. I think this is going to be a wishbone.
Excellent. And a wishbone for 30.
Yeah, 3 times as much.
So you'd have to kill 3 dudes with normal guns in order to catch up to how much you got from a wishbone. The more interesting the kill, the more essence you get. The more hearts you eat, the more essence you get. So if you're an absolutely excellent player, you could get the theoretical maximum could get you almost all the way through all the branches.
Yeah, I will say I played through the whole game and I did not get all the powers. That being said, there is it okay to say? I mean, there is a new game plus.
Yeah, there's a new game plus.
So you can definitely go through and keep going and maxing out those powers.
Yeah,
finding the relics that you didn't find the first time around.
Yep.
Viewers, remember you can tweet your questions at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. We're also giving away copies of the game with statues and t-shirts and water bottles. We're going to give away a PC copy to Mike Perry, who asks, is there a hub world in The Darkness 2, like the subway stations in The Darkness?
Yes. And we're going to go there in a few minutes.
Yeah, it's the subways were kind of the hub world in the original one, or you're like, I guess it was more like your neighborhood. In this one, it's something a little bit more personal to Jackie.
Well, Jackie, he's the Don of the Mafia. He's lamenting his girlfriend's death, and he's going to spend money until he doesn't hurt anymore. His mansion is fantastic, and is going to be that's the quest hub sort of.
Especially, the Fantastic Mansion, and he lives in New York, so that you think about that,
he's got quite a view.
Yeah.
Matt is wondering, will there be more allies in the game besides the Darklings?
Allies. Well, allies is sort of broad. There's definitely people who
Jackie has his crew.
help. Doesn't always turn out so great for them.
Yeah, I think Jackie there are characters in this game that I feel like if you take the time in between levels and the downtime to actually sit there and talk to them, they actually develop a little bit into like these really cool, interesting characters. But that's only if you're going to take the extra time and effort to get to know them. Like there are certain members of your Mafia family who you could never even know anything about them.
Right.
But if you take the time to go talk to like Tony, for instance, is a character I like, you get to know him every time and he kind of comes into his own.
Fat Tony is fun. Those recording sessions were actually really fun. But there's also characters who you'll see in levels, setting up levels, helping you through levels, who are absolutely your ally. I probably shouldn't go into too much more detail than that. Oh, we've talked about Venus before.
Yeah.
You have a very helpful, use the G-rated word and say prostitute ally.
Yeah.
She's very helpful.
Nice.
She's dressed very
Use a body to stun a person.
Gary Rivera is wondering, is there going to be any traveling through other dimensions like in the first game?
Gary, revealing that could potentially ruin significant portions of the story for you.
Yeah. We're not going to spend the whole game in New York. Beyond that, we probably don't want to give too much else away.
Yeah, honestly, that's the, I found that even when I was working on articles for The Darkness that, when you're writing about it, you want to tell people how cool the story is and stuff, but you don't want to give away it because you want people to experience it. That's the whole reason why it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Paul is wondering, how was working with Mike Patton?
Awesome. He got it so quickly. You always bring in some of the, because it's been years, right, since the first game.
Yeah,
so we
3 or
brought
4.
in some of the audio work that he did on the first game and just sort of played it back for him, and then he was there. And he could stay in that space for the whole recording session. Like, he's trained his throat to be destroyed by screaming, so it no longer pains him. And it was really awesome to just kind of watch him go, oh, Benny.
Yep. But the darkness won't let you die. That's like always reoccurring thing in this. Even when you actually die in the game, like you fail, it always acts like basically it's more like the darkness is taking that time to put you back together and bring you back. So see what's going on here. Yeah, this is part of the bizarre narrative that you kind of have to figure out over the duration of the game.
It's not, the first Darkness you had that moment where you sit on the sofa with Jenny and you can watch an entire movie just on the sofa with the girlfriend. You can always press X to get up or to move on to the next thing, or you can watch the whole movie. That was a really risky, sort of a dangerous narrative decision that we made on the first game that, in the end, was awesome. And we didn't shy away from danger when it came to telling twisted narrative stories in this one either.
That and I like that a lot of it sometimes is inferred rather than beat you over the head with it. It's not like, guess what, you might be going crazy. It's like, well, maybe, like, I don't know. Yeah. Draw your own conclusions from these short little chunks.
Andre is wondering if Johnny Powell is a character from the comic series, or is he made for the game?
There's no one exactly like him in the comic series. he's definitely a character who we put into this world to help fill a narrative purpose for The Darkness II.
Yeah, I mean, every story needs that person that fills in the gaps and kind of can do the explanation for key things for you. And Johnny serves that role quite well, because it would have been a little silly seeing like one of your mobster guys be like, "Hey, yo!"
So, this ancient force of chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this guy.
Yeah.
Telling you about fruit. But he likes grapes. Johnny didn't actually, like, early in the narrative, he wasn't really like that guy, but then we just sort of loved the character so much that we let him do a lot more than he was originally slated to do.
Right back to the crazy violence.
Yeah. And this is why it is not rated E for everyone.
Yeah, and and this is a chance right here when he walks up to some members of his own gang that you get a chance to see, like, in the first game, everyone was terrified of you because no one understood the monster. At this point, it takes a little getting used to, but these guys are totally like, we know that you're a monster. They just call it your thing. They always say, "I'm glad you got your thing back."
Well, we don't want to, they're all still a little freaked out, but Tony's not, he just saw you rip somebody's intestines out through their mouth. And he's like, "That's cool. Let's get in the car."
Anthony, Jeremy is wondering, what do you love about the Darkness world and universe?
I mean, I think we've kind of touched upon it a little bit. Jackie's kind of an interesting character in the sense that, there are certain characters that sometimes you like despite the fact that they're not good people. And I think Jackie's one of those, for instance, like if you watched Inglourious Basterds, like the best character in that movie was the SS guy.
Yeah, totally.
And he's like a character you don't want to like, but you regardless you end up liking. And I feel the same way about Jackie. In many ways, he is not a good person. But, you end up kind of feeling for him nonetheless. Like, I just watched him kill like 30 guys as brutally as possible. But the heartfelt moments I see that he has like with his deceased girlfriend, I'm like, I feel bad that he doesn't have this love of his life. Whereas I should be like, this guy just needs to disappear from the earth for everyone's sake, So I like the fact that it draws out feelings in you for people that, are not good people.
Joy is wondering if you can still watch TV in The Darkness II.
Can you tell me what the fuck
You will definitely have opportunities to watch TV in The Darkness II.
I mean, yeah, and there are scenes that are similar to TV, I would say, that, it still hit on that same sort of note.
We're going to show something kind of that note when we play Vendettas too.
So this is your hub world, too.
As you can see, Jackie has moved up in the world.
Yeah, he's not at his Aunt Sarah's house in, like, the middle of Brooklyn or wherever it was.
Totally. This is a nice foyer for, a Manhattan apartment.
Yeah, I'm sure where most people are barely scraping by in a studio,
Right.
Jackie's
not
living
everybody's
large.
down to the mafia.
Yeah. Chief's a great character too. That's all he ever does throughout the whole game is grunt. That's all he ever does. He never speaks.
We did sort of a production-y dumb thing in making so many characters that we found interesting and kind of filling the world with them and like they all have through lines and backstories and like we cared about each individual dude. These guys became kind of huge, and anytime you hang out and listen to their jokes.
I actually really would always spend every time in between missions walking around seeing if everyone had something new to say every time, just because, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, we
like if you pay attention to this conversation, you would never know that they're brother-in-laws.
Right.
And so like it makes some of their interactions a little bit more like, I guess, serious, and especially because, as things happen to you in the game, your whole like mob family experiences it.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, you're dragging everybody with you through this, and they kind of depend on you for this stuff. Okay, let's go out to the balcony. Can we get out this way? I don't think so.
Well, there is a reason to go out to the balcony later on.
That's true.
But I think upstairs.
What did you say?
Yeah, this is where someone was. They were talking about you, kind of scared like.
And then you called them on it.
Now they'll go back to not listening to you.
Viewers, remember you can tweet your questions at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. Seth Michael Temple says, The Darkness was such an amazing game, a true original that came out in 2007. Why did it take 5 years for a sequel?
You don't gotta rush it. And we actually spent a long time in pre-production just saying, okay, Darkness 1 was pretty self-contained. What is a story that we can tell that's as good as the first story and that has integrity to it? and what do we want the world to look like? Where do we want to go? And so that was something that it took us a while. Let's see, you can take the Brooklyn out of the guy, or the guy out of Brooklyn rather, because I screw up the idiom.
Plus, I imagine there were certain things like finding a team that felt right to succeed in the darkness. If Starbreeze wasn't going to be doing it again,
Well, I think that DE is great for this because not only do they have they've got strong artists in it, like the sky there, totally graphic novel, and they knew how to do that. And also the moment-to-moment gameplay that Digital Extremes can handle is awesome. Like just being in gunplay is great, and that took a little while to grow. So at 2K a lot of the time we just you putter around with it until it's right. And for this one, this is once we putted around with it in pre-production until we found the right thing to make, then it became the time to kind of amp it up. So yeah, you can crank out something every year. It wasn't what we wanted to do with this game.
Let's give away an Xbox 360 copy of The Darkness 2 to Dane Matthews, who asks, any chance we'll see the suit from the comic?
Oh, the Darkness armor? Do you remember? Yes, absolutely you will.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite abilities that you get, is that when you're in the darkness, you get basically an additional hit points, free hit points. So it definitely encourages, there are definitely powers you'll get throughout the game that will encourage you to stay in the dark.
And you'll see, because mostly you see Jackie's hands were really strict about first person, but you'll see his hands wrapped up in the demon armor while you're out there.
So I think now if we head upstairs,
yeah, let's head up to.
We can get a tiny little heartfelt moment.
Oh.
Anthony, Chris Morton is wondering, what is your favorite new feature in The Darkness 2?
It's definitely the quad wielding. I mean, the combat in the first game was okay. I think the guys from Starbreeze do gunplay pretty well, but the combat I would say was significantly slower paced than in this one, and I like the fact that in this one the quad wielding really does make me feel like a monster, in good ways. You feel like a monster.
Yeah, and the first game was, as you said before, it's an origin story. So you start just as this thug with a gun, and and then you get demonic powers, and then you master your demonic powers. So it makes sense that you're a more cautious person, because in the beginning of the first game, if you get shot, you die.
Yeah.
But when you make a sequel, you can go down one of two paths. You can either be like, you have amnesia, you've forgotten everything, and we're going to go back to
or we're going to take all your powers away.
Right. A bad guy stole your powers, and you have to earn them back. We decided not to do that. We wanted to start you at incredibly powerful and then grow you even more, which needs a different type of gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, and I think in the first game, you would often fight like 2 guys, and that could be a pretty intense fight. And in this one, it's like 10 guys, and you're just going to tear apart 10 people, limb from limb, without batting an eye.
Kill one dude using the body parts of another dude. I also like the talent that you can get that makes everything that you throw explode.
Yes, that one's actually extremely valuable, because then you can throw even
body parts,
dumb things like a ladder, and all of a sudden it can stun someone really badly.
Or you can decap somebody and then grab his head off the ground and throw his head at his friend, and then make the exploding head kill his friend.
Yeah,
it's sort of mini game.
I mean, that's the cool thing, right? Is the person that asked one of the things I like to go back. Quad wielding also makes it so that every environment is designed to be kind of like a playground.
Yeah.
You roll in, and you don't just think, how can I kill these guys as fast as possible? You look around and think like, oh, there's an explosive tank, so I'm going to blow this up, and whoever lives, then I'm going to go do executions, so on and so on.
Quit busting my balls, all right?
See, and I like that there are still little dialogue options like that. Like, we could have continued the dialogue. For the sake of brevity, we're not right now, but I encourage you to take every opportunity to talk to everyone.
Yeah. And as we head out of here and back down to the
Jackie's
stairwell,
office.
Yeah, we'll run into Vinny again here on the stairway, and let's just skip right to that. And what this exchange, I'll kind of talk over it because I don't know how loud the volume is for the kids at home, but he, I've got a job for you. Go find that Johnny Powell guy. Send the new guys. So here we have a call out from single player, where we're calling over to Vendettas, which is the narrative-based co-op, which we'll show in a little bit.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about the co-op, which when we show it, it does bounce back and forth. between the stories so that they're a little like, oh, so that's what was going on, and that's how this person made it into the story, or that's how this person died.
Yep.
Oh, hey, Jimmy's waiting for you in your
Trevor Adams is wondering, are there multiple dialogue interaction options? Like dialogue trees, I guess? What do you mean?
Anytime, boss.
Yeah, you can interact with people in sort of a branching structure.
Hey, boss. What the fuck just
You're actually, Anton, let's just head right to the
Downstairs.
next section.
Seth, Dan is wondering, will Top Cow be doing any tie-ins to the game, or is the game based on a particular section of comics?
The game is loosely based. Loosely is too loose of a word. Let's see. The game is inspired by the comics, definitely, but the thing that we were absolutely strict about was the first game. The narrative of the first game, we are not screwing around with that at all. All of the characters are the same. All of the characters' histories are the same. We didn't retcon anything. It's 2 years after the events of the first game, but like everything that happened in the first game still happened. That was what we were really, really strict about. For the comics, that's just like this. There's 100 comics.
Yeah, I mean,
that issue 100, I think, this week or soon.
Yeah, in the time that the game has been out, the first and the second one, there's been a ton of comic books. So
yeah, so we're, you can't fit the wealth of 100 issues into one game. So what we did was we just used that as an inspirational space. If nothing else for the art style, but also for a lot of the.
Yeah, though I think the foundation is set there for Jackie. So you still understand his motivation. You still understand his conflict with the darkness. Like,
yeah.
He uses the darkness, and the darkness uses him, but they do not get along. They do not like each other even.
Yeah.
Let's give away a PlayStation 3 copy of The Darkness 2 to Chris Morado, who, Seth, he asks, was there anything you wanted to improve on in The Darkness 2?
Well, I think if you remember the end of The Darkness 1, there was this kind of a cinematic moment in the burnt out mansion where the demon arms all of a sudden went from just being, they were sort of UI, and they went nuts, and they started biting people's heads off and chasing people down hallways and cutting people in half. And when we saw that in the first game, like that was a lot of the inspiration in early pre-production for us to be like, I want to do that all the time. I want to be able to do that whenever I want to. If you demon arms are so helpful, let's be helpful under player control. And so that was, making them characters in the combat and in the game was the kind of a key thing that we wanted to go from the first to second.
I feel like the first game had sometimes some of the encounters were a little bit more like a thinking man's encounter, like in a way like you were a lot more vulnerable at Jackie early on, so you had to really be like, how am I gonna really get the drop on these guys? Where in this one you can just roll at them and they see you coming, they're firing at you, but it doesn't matter because you're just like this unstoppable monster.
Yeah.
That being said, the game can be challenging. I make it sound like you can't die. You can definitely die. It's just knowing when to eat people's hearts and really being smart with the way that you fight.
Viewers, remember you can tweet your questions at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. We will answer them live right before your very eyes. That also automatically enters you to win a copy of the game.
Yeah, you can. We have probably, 12.
We have a lot more.
Yeah, we have some copies.
We got a lot more to give away, so send your questions in.
Hey, Jackie's here.
So now, what is this environment?
You and your mob have gotten hint about this other gang that was part of the hit that just happened to you early on. So now you are trying to track down the dude that they roll with. To be like, why are you trying to kill us? Because that is not cool.
Yo, bro.
Yeah.
And for the eagle-eyed, you'll notice that you saw a Mr. Swifty in the restaurant sequence earlier, who was really eager to get out of there before you got to the table with the twins.
Good, because I ain't exactly in a friendly mood.
Yeah, I never noticed that. But,
I like to throw, because, we've...
They do acknowledge it in the plot, so if you go back and look, you can't see it. But
well, we got a little bit of time to, just focusing on so much of the narrative from the beginning, let us layer it all. So that you can kind of foreshadow things that are coming up. You can make it richer on a second playthrough on New Game Plus. Because you know what's happening, and you're like, oh, I know that guy. He'll attack us later. Ooh, talents.
I want to play Space Intruder. Let's see.
What should we buy talent-wise? Anton, up to you. I'm not guns. Let's go.
I was going to say, how about if you were going to buy something, how about we pick up the gun channeling if we have enough?
Yes. Because guns are.
We need a bit more. We'll get there eventually.
Okay, cool.
Matthew Roberts is asking, can you get those goofy outfits for the Darkling? Is that a reference to the first game? I'm not even sure what that is.
Well, every new copy of the game comes with a download code for a Darkling skin.
Yep. Crazy Abdul, for people who remember him from the, reference to 2 dudes, 1 pole. Good job.
I didn't have that achievement.
Nicely
Thank you.
done.
That was good.
Anton, good job. Yep, there they are. Hi, guys. You can get 3. I've never seen 4. It is theoretically possible.
Good luck.
But they got to line up because it would be tough, but doable. So the pre-order bonus, one of the pre-order bonuses is a Darkling skin, for a Crazy Abdul Darkling skin that you can switch back and forth as you play. And pre-order is, I guess you got a day left to do it.
Yeah,
act right now. But it's the same cost as the standard edition, so it's not like it's any more. It's just you get extra stuff, a couple of talents, and the Darkling skin.
Yeah, so the game is out tomorrow. Anthony, when is your review up?
The review will also be up tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I don't know if we heard the tone loc in the background, but we had fun with the license tracks.
Yeah, they're used very unobtrusively, which is nice. They're always just like playing, like it's natural. A jukebox in the background, something like that. It's never just like grinding guitars coming over the fact that you're murdering a bunch of people.
Like
Swifty.
that guy. Yeah, that's the guy who's chasing after.
Shotgun.
Amlet is wondering, are there bosses that you can fight and gain more XP?
We're about to see one.
Yeah, there are a few bosses.
Do you get more XP for these bosses? Or?
You'll definitely get more Dark Essence out of a boss encounter than you will out of a standard encounter.
And that being said, even harder enemies when you fight them later on. Like these guys, when you do an execution, like even when you're killing a standard guy, you get 10. Later on, when you're fighting harder Brotherhood guys, even standard shooting them will get you 20, 15. Like it does increase. So.
You used up your ceiling fan.
Yeah, the Darkness is pretty brutal. It can pretty much kill someone with anything that you pick up and throw at them. If they're hurt. Oh, Washington Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge. Alright. So the Darkness, little Darkling giving you a hint of what you should do.
Yeah. If you use it as a shield, you can get across this big empty space.
Yeah, but he looks adorable when he does it.
Yeah. Sort of adorable in his...
adorable like a little
cruelty.
maniac. Yeah, exactly. He's like an adorable gremlin.
Yeah.
You know, who didn't watch
He's adorable
Gremlins
while
back in
he's
the
farting
day?
on a corpse. Urinating acid on a corpse. Ah, nice grab. Oh, missed somebody.
Done.
We have another question from David Becker, and this time he's going to win himself a PC copy of The Darkness II. He asks, what changes with New Game Plus?
You can pop around to it's like a level select. You can pop to whatever level you want to replay, and it gives you an opportunity to go back, and there's collectibles like the one that we just grabbed, the relic here. You can go back and collect all of that, and also you can use some of your crazy darkness powers that you get all the way towards the end of the game, back in the beginning, which does change the gameplay experience.
Zach is wondering, how many guns are there in the game, and can they be customized?
They cannot be customized. What you pick up is what you've got. So, we've got two Uzis right now, and they are what they are. There's I don't know exactly what the count is offhand, but there's a bunch, and they do.
I want to say like 10 at least.
Yeah, and they kind of progress in awesome as you go.
I mean, I think the whole point though of guns is that like poles and everything else you find around the environment. Like I never got attached to a gun. They're very much like you use and throw away, and you pick up another one from a guy that you just killed.
Yeah, you want them to feel cool, but not like if you can play the game as just a barbecue, nice. You can play the game as just a gunner. It's really hard as just a gunner. Like you really need the demon arms. Like the enemies will like run up into your melee range, and if you're not slashing them away, it's not so good. So while the guns do feel good and they're definitely fun, and they're all varied. Like we made sure that each one had its own feel.
Yeah.
I think that the star is still the demon arms.
Oh, of course. I mean, for me, especially later on when I had a bunch of powers going on, if I was using my guns, it was mostly as just I held the triggers while I closed the gap, and then from there it was all my demon powers.
Yep.
That really is the star.
Dante is wondering, how long is the game?
It really depends on how you play, which is, and it also depends on how many friends you have to play Vendettas with. But if we're just talking single player, I don't know. It clocks a little above average when you're looking at first-person shooters. I don't really know how to get more specific than that. Mm-hmm. But we spent a little while in the mansion checking out different dudes and checking out different stuff. If you do that, you're looking at well over 10 hours of game. If you're like, I want to shoot things, what is the next objective? I want to shoot things. You can totally get through it quicker. Mm-hmm. It depends on your play style, and that's just for the single player. Vendettas, there's a campaign which parallels.
It's a several-hour campaign on its own.
You know how long it took you, Anthony?
To get through the single-player campaign, it probably took me between, I want to say, 7 and 8 hours, and Vendetta's campaign probably took another 5 or more. I didn't really keep that good a track, but the Vendetta's campaign is pretty long, and that's not even counting the random side missions and everything that you can jump into as well that aren't necessarily as story-focused. So here is a boss fight. You were asking about a boss fight earlier.
Yeah.
Here's a guy in a gigantic
only Jackie Estacado can take a wrecking
machine.
Hit.
Yeah, it's true. The Darkness does, makes them pretty amazing.
Duck. Nice. And here we also see that your Darkling helps you out in these instances. He's like, here, a red canister. What a lovely thing to throw at. Oh, and Swifty blocks.
That was an unintentional block from Swifty, but nonetheless good. But since you are getting hurt and the only way to get health back is hearts, they give you lots of fodder just to rip apart. Oh, here's gun channeling.
Yeah, totally.
It makes your bullets way stronger and doesn't cost you any ammo.
Which, and then not costing any ammo, I think it feels cooler than it sounds because you also don't have to reload.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that's kind of cool about it. Just hold down the triggers and just gun people. And as you level it up, you can make it last longer and have a shorter cooldown. Obviously, you can also make it allow you to see through walls and shoot through walls. So dudes behind cover no longer effective, and then you can also sort of make the bullets heart-seeking, so that you see your hands kind of pivot a little bit. And not only can you just unload for as long as gun channeling lasts, you can also shoot anybody who's on the screen through walls. It becomes really, really powerful.
Aiden is going to win an Xbox 360 copy of Darkness 2 for asking, is there a competitive multiplayer mode?
It depends on how competitive you are with your friends when you're playing a co-op game. We looked at a lot of different ways that we could kind of do a multiplayer, and we, in service of story again, let us write to co-op. So you can and we do tell a story of what happens to these 4 characters as they are kind of attacking the Brotherhood simultaneous with Jackie through the co-op campaign. And if you wanted to turn that into competitive, number of headshots, amount of essence, you can, but there's no verses.
Yeah, I think the versus thing in the first game, I played that game for the story, and by the time I finished the single player campaign, I didn't really want to play versus. Whereas in this, I finished the story and I was like, I kind of want to know more, so I did jump right into the cooperative campaign.
Yeah.
MK System points out that the song Captain Midnight by Tomahawk was used as the credits in the first game. Tomahawk is one of Mike Patton's mini bands. He says that was a really nice surprise and is wondering if there's a great song to end Darkness 2 as well. There's
great songs to begin and end Darkness 2. I don't know if we've given out the full list yet. But we just heard Tone Loc a moment ago. But not that it's all going to be.
It's all old school hip hop.
Not all old school. Some. It's 97, right? The game is set in 97, 2 years after the first, which was 95. And so we had a lot of interesting kind of choices when we were figuring out what we wanted the licensed tracks to be.
That's funny because I wouldn't even I forget about the time frame of it, so I'd just be like, let's just put some 2012 music in here and not even realize.
Did you recognize the song that played during the credits, Anthony?
No, but also I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm not super familiar with Mike Patton's work outside of Faith No More. And